Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another week of our Cybersecurity Executive Brief. I am Corey Wolf, Director of Offensive Security at Risk 360, and today is Thursday, not Wednesday, Thursday, November 21st. This week, I had the pleasure of joining the Women in Cybersecurity Delaware Valley chapter, that's Philly area, to talk about red teaming, how to plan, how to prepare for them. Got to tell some war stories. I was able to see some old friends and make some new ones. So I just wanted to say thank you to the Delaware Valley chapter of Women in Cybersecurity for having me. I had a great time. I hope you did as well. I hope it was helpful, and I hope to see you all again soon. But thank you very much for having me. It was a great time, and hopefully get to see you sometime soon. Speaking of Philadelphia, I will be at B-Sides Philly December 6th. That is at Xfinity Live in South Philly. There I will be giving my presentation on how to train your llama. So I go through how to gather information from threat actor Telegram messages, gather that data, and then fine-tune Llama 3.1. So I will be giving a presentation at B-Sides Philly. I will be talking through how I did it, some of the pitfalls I encountered, and then easy ways to do it yourself. So if you're going to be in the Philly area, I hope to see you at B-Sides Philly on December 6th. I will be there. Lots of my friends will be there. Lots of my colleagues will be there. I hope you are too. But as far as news this week, some of the big areas that we're talking about are around Palo Alto. And yes, Palo Alto just patching some more 0 days here. So there's been a couple of releases from Palo Alto this week around 3 CVEs, all above 9. So we can see here, we see one that's CVSS 9.3, and then there's another additional 2 that are a 9.9 and a 9.2. So bad week for Palo Alto. They put out a advisory this week about active exploitation on the Palo Alto firewalls. It was added to the CISA Kev list. There we go, got it, on the 18th of November. And it is just, there's just web shells getting popped left and right. While there are 3 CVEs called out over the past week, it's really 2 of them that are being chained together to gain admin access on the firewalls and on the devices. I want to call out here, so if we remember how CVEs are named, it is CVE and then the year, and then what number CVE it is for that year. So in this case, this means that this was the 12th CVE issued in 2024. So that means that this CVE was issued sometime in January of this year, but for whatever reason, it's now being exploited in the wild. If that CVE was issued in January of this year, that means that Palo Alto knew about it. Maybe they didn't fully investigate what it was or what was actually going on with it, but it was released, it was identified in the beginning of the year, and it is now, as you can see in the Stark Reading article, being referred to as fresh threat activity. So there's been a little bit of back and forth on this CVE. It originally, I believe, came out as an informational, and then there was talk about it being a little bit more than just an informational. We do know now that it is a critical issue, the CVE 2024-0012, a CVE of 9.3. The thing is that this is a remote command injection vulnerability. So it doesn't necessarily give you admin access just by executing this RCE. But what happens is that when you combine it with an additional issue, a privilege escalation vulnerability, it then allows for admin access on the Palo Alto device. So Palo Alto has released a write-up here, not a write-up, but an advisory. As you can see, published November 18, but this is for CVE 2024-0012. So they published the advisory approximately 11 months after it was identified. Just the way it goes. I'm not saying it was good or bad. I don't know the full story. Maybe they were, I don't know. Maybe they were really trying to figure out what was going on. But if you're into the technical stuff, I highly recommend that you check out the write-up from Watchtower Labs, from their labs component. They have a working POC. There are working POCs out on GitHub, but this is where they talk about that combination of the CVE 2024-0012 which is the command injection vulnerability, and then the privilege escalation vulnerability put together, which, let's see, I forget which one it is. Here we go, 2024-94-74. So this actually makes sense because if it's, well, 94-74, we're on like 20,000 CVEs this year or something. So if I had to guess just by looking at the CVE number here, 94-74, that was probably sometime around June. But what's happening is that these two vulnerabilities are being combined, one for the command injection, one for the privilege escalation. So Watchtower and various other entities, threat intelligence entities, have seen web shells, they've seen full execution, and they've seen a major uptick in combining these two vulnerabilities to compromise Palo Alto devices. ShadowServer, I believe, said that there were somewhere around 11,000 vulnerable devices exposed to the internet. The mitigation here, of course, is to not have your management interface facing the internet for your Palo Alto firewall. I understand, why there might be some use cases to do that. However, it's 2024, and we can't have firewall SSL VPN devices and firewalls just exposed to the internet. It's just too risky. For me, I'm not sure that it's an accepted risk anymore. And I think I'm a little bit more lenient when it comes to understanding the business aspects of it. But regardless, let me get off my soapbox. There are three major vulnerabilities being talked about this week from Palo Alto. However, the two of them are being chained together, remote code execution and then privilege escalation, to gain admin access to these Palo Alto boxes. So I looked. So if we look at gray noise, for example, I looked for CVE 20, that 20 that 0012 vulnerability. Gray noise isn't calling anything back, but I haven't done this yet. So let's check this out. Let's see if they have it for CVE 2024-94-74. So let's see, 94-74. Let's see what they got here. 94-74. Let's see. I don't know why Gray Noise doesn't have anything on it. That's interesting. You would think that Gray Noise would have some. But CISA says it's being exploited. Palo Alto says it's being exploited. Watchtower saying it's being exploited. There's evidence of it. That's funny that's not on Gray Noise. But anyways, long story short, Palo Alto, the management interface and the web interface, I don't understand why it's written in PHP. Which if this was 2004, 2008, I'd understand. But just the fact that they're using PHP, I don't know. PHP has made, it's much better than it used to be, we'll say. But I don't understand why. The fact that it's using PHP indicates that this is ancient software, and anyone who knows anything about, I'll refer to them as legacy firewalls, I suppose. Anyone who knows anything about legacy firewalls can say that it's the same thing for Fortinet, and many of these other devices. They're running on ancient software. And Palo Alto continually, in all SSL VPNs and firewalls from legacy, are still running the same software from however long ago. And it's just, I don't know. I think it's time for a change as far as how they're doing it. But so if you are running a Palo Alto firewall, there are patches available. They do have lots of good information here about mitigating these issues. I'll link to that in the description. I highly suggest you check it out. But that's Palo Alto. Other big news is T-Mobile. T-Mobile got breached again. They got breached again. I feel like every year there's something with T-Mobile. However, in this case, I'm a little bit more lenient, I think, with T-Mobile. I'll go a little bit easier on them than I normally would, because what this was is, well, it was, and it probably currently still is, was a concerted attack from Chinese nation-state threat actors to compromise U.S. telephone networks. There we go, and telecom networks. Got it. So in this case, it was a group known as Salt Typhoon. So as a reminder, Typhoon is one of the, lots of organizations have different naming structures and ways that they name threat actors. In this case, Salt Typhoon is the Microsoft naming convention for this particular threat group. There's categorizations and ways that they categorize the naming here. When you see Typhoon, that means China. That means Chinese nation state threat actor. There's a couple of these threat actors. There's another one called Volt Typhoon. This one in this case was Salt Typhoon. And it was a concerted effort by Salt Typhoon, aka Chinese nation state threat actors, to compromise US infrastructure and telecom networks. The big action here was what they really had access to was a lawful intercept system throughout the telecom networks. They might have had access to more, but this is what they focused on at least in this particular campaign. And so, for if you're not familiar, uh, anytime there's a lawful intercept where the the government wants to put a wiretap or wants data, the telecom companies need to comply with these requests, and so they have systems in place to manage these requests, accept them, deny them, provide the information, all that kind of stuff. And so what they had done in this case is they compromised not just T-Mobile, they compromised all of them. I mean, AT&T, Verizon, and Lumen Technologies, including T-Mobile. So they had all the telecom networks and they focused on these lawful intercept systems, which, as you can expect, is collecting lots of data on particular individuals. They could also then use these lawful intercept systems to collect the data for themselves. Um, and so it's an intelligence gathering operation. They did a really good job at it, unfortunately, and they've done quite a bit of damage. This is just the status quo for Chinese nation state threat actors. They've been going after critical infrastructure and telecom networks forever in the U.S., and they will continue to do so. The big example that I've talked about often is Guam, how Chinese nation states, I believe that was Volt Typhoon, had compromised an ISP in Guam. In why Guam? Because if you were to look at the infrastructure maps between Asia and North America, Guam's like right in the middle. There's lots of undersea cables and telecommunications equipment in Guam, and if they wanted to, they could find ways to intercept the data, uh, capture the data. Yes, everything's SSL encrypted, but guess what? Proof of concept and a Chinese company recently used quantum computing to break, I believe, SHA-1. They're not there yet to where they can just fully break encryption, but quantum computers are there. So the thought is, if you're in Guam and you have access to all the data going through there, maybe you want to cherry pick certain data, save it. Yes, it's encrypted now, but in the future you could decrypt it. You could break that encryption. Also, in the case of kinetic operations, you could sever the tie between one of the main ties between Asia and North America, hindering internet traffic and communications. It's been going on for quite a long time. Chinese threat actors going after U.S. communications and critical infrastructure. It's been going on forever, and it's not going to stop anytime soon. So, T-Mobile, T-Mobile continues to have cybersecurity issues. Although this one, I don't know. I'd be willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. It's just the way that it goes. So those are the two things I wanted to cover this week. If you have a Palo Alto device, there's a lot of talk about that going around. If you have a Palo Alto device, please make sure that you update it. If you can, by all means, please remove the management interface from the public internet so that threat actors cannot just simply go after it. Chinese threat actors continue to go after critical infrastructure. So that's this week. That is this week. Just this week. Just this week. That's it for today. I hope you have a great week. I will see you next week before Thanksgiving, but I hope you have a great weekend, and we will see you next Wednesday. Speak soon.